Chapter 45-37. The elves were all puzzled because the aura emitted by the jade bottle in Ling Yue's hand was too similar to the holy tree seed. At this time, Ling Yue picked up the jade bottle. With the lid down, a seed flew out. It was the holy tree seed. The holy tree seed emitted a hazy radiance, and an incomparably dense life energy was emitted, enveloping all the elves. Bathed in the dense life energy, all the elves felt their pores open, and they felt incomparably comfortable. The holy tree seed, it really is the holy tree seed. The princess actually has a holy tree seed in her hands. It's truly a blessing from the heavens. The heavens have not destroyed our elf clan. Even if the heavenly palace wanted to destroy us, they would not be able to do so. That's right. With the new holy tree seed and the princess talent, our elf clan will definitely rise again and be stronger than before. All the elves were overjoyed. Many of them couldn't hold it in and started to roar. The holy tree seed could nurture the elven holy tree. The elven holy tree was too important to the elves. Within the range of the elven holy tree, it could turn ordinary trees into elven ancient trees and give birth to elven wood hearts. Furthermore, when the elves cultivated on the elven holy tree, not only would their cultivation speed be astonishing, they would also be able to continuously improve their talent and purify their bloodline, allowing the elves' talent to become stronger and stronger. One had to know that at the peak of the elf clan's history, they were close to the top 10 races. That was because of the elven holy tree. Later on, when the elf clan was in chaos and the elven holy tree was cut down, the strength of the elf clan plummeted and continued to decline until it reached the 33rd rank of the great desolate 10,000 races. From this, it could be seen how important the elven holy tree was. In addition, they also had the elf princess Ling Yue. In the battle of the supreme immortal city, Ling Yue had revealed her terrifying talent. She was actually able to compete with the heavenly daughter of the celestial clan, reaching a shocking 11 stars of battle strength. This kind of talent could be said to be the best in the elf clan. In the history of the elf clan, there had never been such an astonishing genius. In time, the elf princess Ling Yue would definitely become a peak expert in the universe, and her cultivation would even surpass the ancestors of the elf clan. With these two blessings, it was not impossible for the elf clan to reach their peak in the future, or even further. Many elves' eyes that were filled up with despair, long, and Ling Yue that was Long Yue Long. In a short period of time, they had seen Ling Yue and the elven tree seed. This was a great surprise for them. Everyone, this is indeed the seed of the holy tree. Furthermore, this seed was given to us by Lu Ming. Ling Yue said loudly. Everyone fell silent and looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Princess, did Lu Ming give us this seed of the holy tree as well? Really? Don't speak up for him. The old elder said. They were all veterans of the martial arts world, so how could they not see that Ling Yue was siding with Lu Ming? It's absolutely true. Think about it, where would I get the holy tree seed from? If I had it, I would have handed it over long ago. Actually, during the holy seed assessment, Lu Ming obtained a total of 2 holy tree seeds. He gave one to the elf tribe and kept the other for himself. Now, the holy fairy tree that we nurtured has already been destroyed by the heavenly human tribe, so he has given us the second seed of the holy fairy tree from his collection in order to help the fairy tribe develop. Ling Yue said. So that's how it is. The hearts of the elves stirred as they felt that it was very possible. Just as Ling Yue had said, if she had the seed of the holy tree, she would have taken it out to cultivate it long ago. After all, the holy tree seed would only be of great use if it was nurtured into a holy tree. A single holy tree seed was useless. And since Lu Ming was able to obtain 1 holy tree seed back then, it was not impossible for him to obtain 2. The elves fell silent. The holy tree seed was something that they desperately desired, but it was still impossible for them to let go of their grudges and forgive Lu Ming. Yue, then let's nurture the holy tree seed into a holy fairy tree now. At this moment, Lu Ming, who had been silent all this time, suddenly opened his mouth. What? Ling Yue was stunned. She was tongue-tied as she looked at Lu Ming. What did Lu Ming say just now? He was going to nurture the holy tree seed into a holy fairy tree now? How was this possible? It wasn't that easy to nurture the holy tree seed into a holy fairy tree. It was extremely difficult and the process was extremely complicated. One had to gather a large amount of suitable heavenly materials and earthly treasures and expend a large amount of resources and energy in order to successfully nurture it. And now, there were only these people left in the elf clan. They didn't have any treasures to nurture the holy tree seed. They didn't do any preparatory work, so how could they nurture the holy tree? It turned out that Lu Ming didn't know how difficult it was to nurture the holy tree. A holy tree was nurtured the same as an ordinary tree? The other elves were also somewhat dumbfounded. Some of them even revealed mocking expressions. Of course it's now. Let's go. With that, Lu Ming pulled Ling Yue's small hand and flew towards the sky above the forest. Very quickly, they arrived at the center of the forest and landed on an empty space below. Many of the elves also flew over to watch. They wanted to see how Lu Ming would nurture the holy tree of the elves. In their opinion, this was simply impossible. He didn't do any preparatory work, nor did he have any heavenly materials or earthly treasures to nurture the holy tree of the elves. Yue, give me the holy tree seed. Lu Ming said. N. Ling Yue nodded her head in a daze and handed the holy tree seed to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took the holy tree seed and placed it on the ground. Following that, a jade bottle appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He opened the jade bottle and poured a green liquid onto the holy tree seed. Suddenly, the holy tree seed seemed to tremble for a moment, as if it had produced a powerful suction force that absorbed the green liquid into the seed. Lu Ming continued to pour it out as the holy tree seed continued to absorb it. Very quickly, the jade bottle was empty and all the green liquid was absorbed by the holy tree seed. At this moment, the holy tree seed trembled again and then emitted a dazzling light. Waves of unimaginably dense life essence continuously spread out. Enveloped by this life essence, the other trees in the forest began to grow crazily. The ancient trees that were originally only a few hundred meters tall grew crazily, becoming 1,000 meters tall, a few thousand meters tall, 10,000 meters tall. The diameter of the trees was also crazily increasing. It's revived. The holy tree seed has revived. Some of the elves cried out loudly. At the scene, all the elves were stunned. The holy tree seed had actually revived. How was this possible? Especially the few Divine Lord Realm elves, they were even more shocked. They clearly remembered how much effort and price the elves had paid to revive the holy tree seed last time. And now, it was revived just like that. Chapter 45-38. The people of the elf clan were all stunned. Lu Ming had only poured a bottle of green liquid down, and the holy tree seed had already revived? Wasn't this too easy? It was so easy that it felt unreal. Look, the holy tree seed has taken root. Suddenly, another loud roar resounded throughout the entire place. At this moment, the sky above this area was filled with elves, all of them staring at the holy tree seed. The holy tree seed had really sprouted. At a speed visible to the naked eye, white and tender roots extended from the seed wall and pierced into the soil. It's taking root. Is it really taking root? Are you sure you didn't see wrongly? Quickly tell me. Some of the elves who couldn't squeeze in and couldn't see shouted, urgently wanting to know the situation of the holy tree seed. It really took root. Not only did it take root, it even sprouted. It sprouted. Heavens, it really sprouted. Many elves cried out. At this moment, a few Divine Lord Realm elf clan elders and Ling Yue all widened their eyes as they stared blankly at the holy tree seed. This was because the holy tree seed was really taking root and sprouting. At the beginning, a spore grew. Following that, a few leaves grew out of the spore. The leaves continued to grow, and a root grew out. A small sapling appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The growth speed was too fast. It had only been a few minutes, but the holy tree seed had already grown into a small sapling. The holy tree seed that had grown into a small sapling could no longer be called a holy tree seed. It could already be called the elven holy tree. Of course, this was only the beginning. The elven holy tree sapling was still growing at an astonishing speed. Very quickly, it grew to a meter tall and was as thick as a thumb. However, it was still growing at an astonishing speed. 1 meter tall, 2 meters tall, 3 meters tall, 10 meters tall, 20 meters tall, 50 meters tall, 800 meters tall, 300 meters tall, 800 meters tall. It grew crazily and quickly reached a height of 1,000 meters. However, it did not stop. Between heaven and earth, endless energy continuously surged towards the elven holy tree. Then, it turned into an incomparably dense life essence and was emitted. In the process of absorbing and emitting, the elven holy tree grew crazily. At this moment, there was no longer any sound at the scene. All the elves raised their heads and stared blankly at the elven holy tree growing. They were too shocked, so shocked that they had already become numb. The 1,000-meter-tall elven sacred tree had already surpassed the elven sacred tree cultivated by the elves. However, the elf clan had spent a great deal of effort to cultivate that tree. It had taken them nearly 1,000 years to cultivate it to that level. However, the elven holy tree had surpassed the elven holy tree from before in merely a short period of time. Was this a dream? However, many elves had already tried and confirmed that this was definitely not a dream, but reality. The elven sacred tree was still growing. 1,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 50,000 meters. In just 3 days, the elven sacred tree had grown to several million meters tall. Its diameter was even more astonishing. From below, one could not even see the top of the enormous elven sacred tree. It covered the sky and covered a large area. At that moment, the elven holy tree's growth slowed down. Although it was still growing, it was much slower than before. The creation divine water is indeed miraculous. No wonder Senior Fei Huang said that it would definitely be able to successfully nurture the holy tree seed. Lu Ming was also full of praise in his heart. That's right, the treasure that Lu Ming had asked Fei Huang for was the creation divine water. Lu Ming had already expected the elf clan's attitude, so he planned to start with the holy tree seed. If he could successfully cultivate the holy tree seed, the elf clan's impression of him would definitely change. The reason he did this wasn't because he really cared about the elf clan's opinion of him. What he cared about was Ling Yue. Ling Yue was sandwiched between him and the elf clan, making things very difficult for her. He was trying to make things easier for Ling Yue. When he spoke of his thoughts, Fei Huang gave Lu Ming a bottle of creation divine water. She said that she had obtained it from the ruins of the universe and that it was enough to nurture the elven sacred tree. Lu Ming had never thought that the effects of the creation divine water would be so heaven-defying. Not only was the cultivation successful, it had also allowed the elven sacred tree to grow to several million meters tall in one fell swoop. The creation divine water was simply a supreme treasure, yet Fei Huang had given it to him so easily. His gratitude towards Fei Huang increased by another portion. I've broken through, my cultivation has broken through. My cultivation has also broken through. At this moment, a few exclamations broke the silence. The elven sacred tree was constantly emitting a vast amount of life essence. This life essence was extremely helpful to the elves. In such a short period of time, some elves had actually broken through in their cultivation. The other elves also began to observe their own cultivations. Those elves with lower cultivation bases discovered that their cultivation bases had improved imperceptibly. Of course, there were only a few people who had broken through. Those people were already on the verge of breaking through. With the help of the elven sacred tree, they had stimulated their bloodline and broken through in one fell swoop. However, this effect was already heaven-defying. Holy tree, a holy tree that is millions of meters tall. Our clan finally has a holy tree. The rise of our clan is just around the corner. Many elves were so excited that their bodies were trembling. Some of them even shed tears of excitement. Ling Yue was also so excited that her entire body was trembling. Although the elven sacred tree that was millions of meters tall had yet to mature, it was still close. The effect was already very shocking. This could be seen from the surrounding environment. At this moment, this forest had already undergone an earth-shattering change. There were incomparably huge ancient trees everywhere. The life essence was dense, and all kinds of flowers were blooming. There were even many divine medicines in the mountain forest. Not only that, but the area outside the forest was also densely packed with trees that were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. This forest was several times larger than before. If this continued, it would not be impossible for this area to once again turn into the elven palace of the past. Lu Ming, thank you. Ling Yue looked at Lu Ming and said seriously, "What are you thanking me for? This is what I should do." Lu Ming smiled. "All right, where did you get that treasure?" Ling Yue asked curiously. "Of course I got it from the universe ruins. Ever since I left the Grand Supreme Immortal City, I've always felt sorry, so I entered the universe ruins to explore. I wanted to find a treasure that could promote the elven sacred tree and give it to you as an apology. I didn't expect that my luck was so good that I actually obtained a bottle of creation divine water." Lu Ming smiled. When he lied, his face did not turn red and his heart did not race. It was as if he was telling the truth. Creation divine water? Lu Ming, in order to obtain the creation divine water, you must have suffered a lot. Ling Yue's eyes were filled with gratitude. "It's just so. It's all worth it," Lu Ming said with a face full of affection. Chapter 45-39. After Ling Yue heard this, she was so moved that she was about to cry. She looked at Lu Ming affectionately and said, "Lu Ming, you treat me so well. In the past, I misunderstood you. I believe that the other members of the elf clan will also resolve the misunderstanding with you. It's fine. Even if the whole world misunderstands me, it doesn't matter. As long as you don't misunderstand me, it's fine." Lu Ming continued. He discovered that his skin was getting thicker and thicker. "It's all Danden's fault. After hanging out with him for so long, I've been infected by him. I was originally a gentleman," Lu Ming comforted himself in his heart. In another area, Danden inexplicably sneezed a few times. "Fuck that bastard. Which guy is talking bad about me?" Danden rubbed his nose and muttered in displeasure. In the elf clan's area, Ling Yue's heart had completely melted as she affectionately grabbed Lu Ming's hand. At this moment, the people of the elf clan had finally calmed down. When they looked at Lu Ming again, the look in their eyes had changed greatly from before. Although there were still some grudges, they were already much lighter. Some of the people who already had a good impression of Lu Ming even revealed a trace of gratitude in their eyes. The seed of the holy tree was originally incomparably precious, but Lu Ming was able to give it away for free. The most important thing was that bottle of green liquid. Now, even a fool would know that the bottle of green liquid was definitely a supreme treasure. Otherwise, how could the seed of the holy tree sprout and grow to millions of meters tall in such a short period of time? One had to know that in the past, the elf clan had used all their strength and spent 1,000 years to cultivate the elven holy tree to a height of 1,000 meters. That had already consumed countless resources. The price of that bottle of green liquid was simply immeasurable. However, Lu Ming had used it. Most importantly, with the elven holy tree that was millions of meters tall, the talent of the elf clan would become higher and higher, and their cultivation speed would also become stronger and stronger. As long as they were given some time, the elf race would multiply and their population would increase. One day, they would be able to return to their peak and walk on the path of prosperity. Because of Lu Ming, the elf race had been destroyed. Now, he had given them a new lease of life. The mood of the elves was complicated, but no matter what, their view of Lu Ming had changed a lot. "Yue, stay here for the time being and help our clansmen rebuild. If you need anything, just send me a message," Lu Ming said. "Okay." Ling Yue nodded. The elves had just arrived and needed to be rebuilt. She was indeed needed to preside over the overall situation. After that, Lu Ming returned to the residence of the Lu family and the Taishu dynasty. "Lu Ming, there are still 10 years left. Spend these 10 years with your family. After 10 years, I will send you off to cultivate." Lu Ming was flying halfway when a voice suddenly sounded in his ears. It was Fei Huang's voice. "You're going to be sent to cultivate in 10 years? Senor what?" Lu Ming's spiritual sense fluctuated as he asked. He knew that Fei Huang could hear him. "There's not much time left. The Great War is about to begin. You guys have to increase your strength as soon as possible. Right now, you guys are still too weak. Fei Huang's voice continued to ring out. Lu Ming understood that the you guys that Fei Huang was talking about should include Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Myriad God, and the others. These were the top geniuses. However, what he didn't understand was, what did it mean that the Great War was about to begin? Was a decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace going to break out? So fast? Therefore, he immediately asked, Senior, could it be that we are going to have a decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace? I'll tell you the specifics in 10 years. In these 10 years, I have to prepare. You should also accompany your family. It won't be so easy in the future. Fei Huang's voice rang out, and then it lowered again. Senior, Senior. Lu Ming called out continuously, but Fei Huang didn't respond. Lu Ming frowned. If even Fei Huang was a little anxious and said that the Great War was about to begin, then the matter must be very serious. The development of the matter was somewhat out of Lu Ming's expectations. Lu Ming originally thought that the decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace wouldn't come so soon. However, according to Fei Huang's words, it might not be too long. Although Fei Huang didn't say it, Lu Ming subconsciously thought that the decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace was about to begin. In the primitive universe, other than the great enemy that was the Heavenly Palace, were there any other enemies? With a lot on his mind, Lu Ming flew over and saw Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Myriad God, Dandan, Bubbles, and the others. Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Myriad God, and the others had a heavy expression. After seeing Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing asked, Lu Ming, you also heard Master's voice transmission, right? Xian Yanqing's previous life's Tang Qing was Fei Huang's disciple, so Xian Yanqing also addressed Fei Huang as Master. I heard it, but there are still 10 years. In these 10 years, we don't have to think too much. Let's have a good rest. Lu Ming walked over and held Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon's hands as he smiled. He had to appear relaxed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if everyone had a lot on their minds. The construction of the new residence was extremely fast. In just a few days, huge cities and huge buildings appeared on the land. The people of the Lu family, Hua Qi and his people, Pangshi and his people, Undying Demon Lord and his people, Thousand Holy Old Heavenly King and his people, these branches, big and small, would all establish a city and settle down. Then, they would begin to cultivate. Everything was on the right track. I don't know how long this peace will last. I don't want to be forced to move again. Lu Ming thought silently. If a war broke out, Heaven Destroyer's base would probably not be safe and might be caught in the flames of war. But it was useless to think too much now. He could only improve his strength as soon as possible. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming began to cultivate. Every cell in his body was like a bottomless pit, constantly devouring the energy of heaven and earth, absorbing and refining it. But after a while, Lu Ming stopped and showed a puzzled look. There's no improvement. It's still the same as before, Lu Ming whispered. He found that no matter how he absorbed and refined the energy of heaven and earth, his forbidden body didn't move and didn't improve at all. He had tried it in the primitive universe before, and it was the same when he came to Heaven Destroyer's base. It's just as the legends say. The primitive universe can only support creatures to cultivate to the first level of the Divine Lord realm. This is the highest level that the primitive universe can accommodate. After reaching the first level of the Divine Lord realm, no matter how much energy you absorb from heaven and earth, you can't improve your cultivation. No wonder all the Divine Lord realm overlords go into the universe ruins. Maybe there's an environment or treasure in the universe ruins that can improve the Divine Lord realm. Senior Fei Huang said that she would send us to cultivate 10 years later. Is it in the universe ruins? Lu Ming whispered. The primitive universe he mentioned was the universe controlled by the Heavenly Palace, not the universe ruins. Chapter 45-40. The conditions in the primitive universe were very limited. Whether it was the divine qi or the various divine medicines, they couldn't support the cultivation of Divine Lord Realm experts. Those Divine Lord Realm experts who wanted to improve and climb up the ladder would choose to explore the ruins of the universe. This was the same whether it was the Heavenly Palace, the races in the universe, or the Heaven Destroyer. Forget it. I'll spend the next 10 years with Dad, Mom, Xiaoqing and Autumn Moon. Lu Ming got up with a smile. After that, Lu Ming didn't focus on cultivation. At most, he would use the primitive ring as a reference to comprehend the primitive form. The rest of the time, he would spend with his family and friends. He would accompany Lu Yuntian and Li Ping to chat about their daily lives. He would also accompany Xian Yanqing and Chuyue to travel around the world. In addition, he would also take time to teach Lu Shenhuang, Lu Qi, and his disciples. Speaking of his disciples, Lu Ming felt ashamed. Ever since he took them in as disciples, he hadn't taken the time to teach them. They were all traveling, adventuring, and cultivating alone. Most of the disciples' cultivation was done by themselves or by seeking guidance from others. Therefore, during this rare free time, Lu Ming often took the time to focus on guiding Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and the rest. The Heaven Destroyer's base was much better than the Taishu dynasty. In addition, Lu Ming had a lot of resources and Lu Ming's personal guidance. The cultivation of his disciples, including Lu Shenhuang and Lu Qi, improved very quickly. Not long after, Lu Qi and Ouyang Moli's cultivation reached the Divine King realm. Xiang Xiang even broke through 2 levels and reached the 8th level of the Divine King realm. Of course, their cultivation didn't stop there. Just like that, 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. 10 years later, Lu Ming received Fei Huang's voice transmission again, asking him to head to the place where Fei Huang lived. At the same time, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and the others also received the message. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the others headed towards Fei Huang's residence. At Fei Huang's residence, Lu Ming discovered that other than Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon, Ling Yue had also come. There were also Myriad God, Dandan, and Bubbles. In addition to these people, there were also some other people who were some of the top prodigies in Heaven Destroyer, such as Yi Ling Wush. Not long after Lu Ming and the others arrived, Fei Huang's figure appeared in front of them. This time, I called you here because I want to send you to cultivate. However, each of you will have a different training ground. According to your physique, the cultivation method you practice, the power you control, etc., you will be able to choose the most suitable training ground for you. It will be able to stimulate your potential to the maximum and allow you to improve as quickly as possible. Fei Huang said. As expected, they will go to different venues. Lu Ming whispered. He had guessed this long ago. Otherwise, Fei Huang wouldn't have asked him to spend more time with his family, Xian Yanqing, and Autumn Moon all these years. You must improve your strength as soon as possible. Time waits for no one. I'm afraid it won't be long before the war begins. Fei Huang said. Senior, what do you mean by the war is about to begin? Are we going to have a decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace? The one who asked was not Lu Ming, but a prodigy in Heaven Destroyer. Almost everyone was curious. This matter was what everyone was concerned about. Fei Huang was silent for a moment, then shook her head and said, It's hard to say. I can't explain it clearly. Everyone was curious. What did Fei Huang's answer mean? To tell you the truth, more than 10 years ago, I received a message from the Taboo Sword Ancestor. He said that he peeked at a corner of the future. In the near future, there will be an unprecedented war. Fei Huang said. What? Everyone was shocked. They all knew who the Taboo Sword Ancestor was. That was Tang Feng, an invincible figure and the leader of Heaven Destroyer. He actually peeked at a corner of the future. There would be a great war in the future. Moreover, they also noticed that Fei Huang used the word unprecedented. An unprecedented war. It could be seen that this war would be incomparably tragic. Everyone's face became solemn. Senior Fei Huang, did the Taboo Sword Ancestor say who our opponent is? It should be the Heavenly Palace, right? Someone asked again. I'm not sure. You have to know that peeking into the future is extremely difficult and full of danger. The past is irreversible, and the future is full of infinite variables. It is also very difficult to peek into the future. Once you do, you will suffer a terrible backlash. Even the space-time spirit mouse, which is known to be able to control time and space, can't peek into the future. Moreover, the higher the cultivation of the target, the more difficult it is to peek into the future. The more creatures involved, the more difficult it is to peek into the future. On the contrary, the future of an ordinary person is easier to peek into. Fei Huang said with a serious face. Everyone understood this point. An ordinary person who did not cultivate only had a short lifespan of 100 years. It was very easy to peek into their future. Letting the space-time spirit mouse, who was proficient in space-time, go would be able to peek into their future clearly. However, if the target was a cultivator, it would be much more difficult. The higher the cultivation, the more difficult it would be. And the more creatures involved, the more difficult it would be. For example, peeking into the future of a race would be extremely difficult. Previously, an Origin Realm expert of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan used space-time techniques to peek into the future of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan. He only managed to peek into a corner of the future before suffering a backlash. He was heavily injured and has yet to recover, Fei Huang said. Everyone was shocked. Everyone's hearts shook. The Origin Venerate of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan was a master of time. He had already grasped the essence of time. He had only wanted to pry into the future of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan, but he had suffered a heavy injury. One could imagine how dangerous it was to pry into the future. Of course, the Origin Venerables of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan also knew that the Heavenly Palace might move against them through that corner of the future. That's why they wanted to cooperate with us in advance. Fei Huang said. Lu Ming came to a realization. He finally understood why the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan wanted to cooperate with the Heaven Destroyer for a long time. It turned out that they had peeked into a corner of the future. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that peeking into the future is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Not to mention, Tang Feng peeked into the future of the entire universe. It's even more difficult. He was also able to peek into a corner of the future through a special opportunity. However, it was very vague. He only knew that there would be an earth-shattering war that would be extremely tragic. Countless people would die in battle. However, he couldn't see clearly who the opponent would be. It's difficult to say. Fei Huang said. Apart from the Heavenly Palace, there are no other opponents. They're probably going to have a decisive battle with the Heavenly Palace. I think the Heavenly Palace is afraid. They're afraid that if they continue to wait, they'll be surpassed by us. That's why they want to strike first. A few people were discussing. Senior, will the demons become our opponents? At this moment, Lu Ming asked. Chapter 45-41. Demons? Hearing Lu Ming's words, everyone fell silent and pondered. Demons? I don't think so. Demons and the heavenly human race are mortal enemies. They have a common enemy with us. Why would they become our opponents? Someone asked. Lu Ming is right. We have to be careful of demons, Fei Huang said. Fei Huang said, demons are demons after all. They are naturally savage, violent, bloodthirsty, murderous, and evil. We are only cooperating with them to keep the Heavenly Palace in check. No one can say for sure what will happen in the future when facing demons. Therefore, we have to treat them as potential enemies and guard against them. Everyone nodded seriously. If they really destroyed the Heavenly Palace, they would have to fight against the demons. Lu Ming frowned and felt a little heavy. For some reason, he felt that things weren't that simple. It wasn't like the Forbidden Sword ancestor and Fei Huang hadn't fought against the Heavenly Palace before. According to Xian Yanqing, an earth-shattering battle had broken out with the Heavenly Palace 60 stellar years ago. That battle was incomparably tragic. Countless people died in battle. The number of experts that fell was innumerable. 2 of the Heavenly Palace were destroyed. 60 stellar years ago, there were still 7 Heavenly Palace, but now there were only 5 left. However, the Forbidden Sword ancestor, Tang Feng, saw a glimpse of the future and described the future battle as all previous battles. It was obvious that the battle in the future would definitely exceed 60 stellar years ago. The Heavenly Palace's strength now was obviously not as strong as it was 60 stellar years ago. If they really fought, how could it be unprecedented? Could it be that the demons and the Heavenly Palace were working together to deal with them? Or did the heavenly human race have an unimaginable expert? They couldn't figure it out. Senior, Did the sword ancestor say when the battle will break out? Dandan asked. I'm not sure. It won't be more than a stellar year. The earliest might be 10,000 years later. Fei Huang said. 10,000 years later at the earliest. Everyone was shocked. 10,000 years was simply too short. It was impossible for them to reach the peak. The amount of time left for them was simply too short. Everyone was praying in their hearts, hoping that the war would come later. It would be best if it was close to a stellar year later. With their talent, they would probably reach major accomplishment in a single stellar year. It was extremely likely for some of them to reach reciprocity. However, if it was only 10,000 years, then it was truly too short. That's why I'm sending you all to cultivate. Time is of the essence, so you must raise your strength as soon as possible. Fei Huang said. At this moment, even without Fei Huang's reminder, everyone felt a strong sense of urgency in their hearts. They wished they could quickly increase their strength in order to deal with the earth-shattering battle that was about to erupt in the near future. Xian Yanqing, after this, I will send you to the boundless devil abyss. That place is the place where I cultivated back then and is the most suitable place for you to cultivate. Over there, you will be able to improve faster. However, it's only suitable for you to go. Fei Huang said. Xian Yanqing nodded. Then, Fei Huang looked at Wan Shen. Wan Shen, I will send you to the land of the fallen gods. Legend has it that it's the burial ground of the primordial divine spirits. It's also the place where the primordial divine spirits and the celestial race fought. A large number of primordial divine spirits are buried there. Of course, it's also filled with danger. It's best if it's dangerous. I was afraid that it would just be a boring cultivation. Wan Shen chuckled, filled with battle intent. Autumn Moon, you have the sacred heart of 9 orifices. I will send you the Sea of Elemental Heart. Over there, your potential will be maximized. The sacred heart of 9 orifices is no small matter. The potential it contains is something that even I can't estimate. Since the appearance of the primitive universe, including you, there have only been 2 examples. Fei Huang looked at Autumn Moon. Many people also looked at Autumn Moon with envy. Even Fei Huang said that it was impossible to estimate. It was absolutely shocking. Senior Fei Huang, I've already opened all 9 orifices, but my potential hasn't been maximized? Autumn Moon asked curiously. The 9 orifices of the sacred heart of 9 orifices are only at the entry level, Fei Huang said. After a while, she said, someone once found an ancient book in the ruins of the universe. There were a few words in it that mentioned the sacred heart of 9 orifices. It seemed to be some kind of heaven-defying constitution from the last era and has endless potential. Everyone was shocked. Even Lu Ming looked at Autumn Moon curiously. The sacred heart of 9 orifices was actually some kind of heaven-defying constitution from the last era. This was beyond Lu Ming's expectation. Since the birth of the primitive universe, there had only been 2 examples, including Autumn Moon. The ratio was even more pitiful. Autumn Moon was also surprised. She did not expect the sacred heart of 9 orifices to have untapped potential. Bubbles, I'll take you to the Sea of Time and Space. It's the most suitable place for you to cultivate. World Turtle Dandan, I'll send you to the Myriad Transformation Ruins. That should be the ruins left behind by a powerful formation from the last era. The remnant formations left behind are incomparably exquisite, enough for you to comprehend. Elf Princess Ling Yue, I'll send you to the 10,000 Spirits Palace. It's the most suitable place for you to cultivate your elf bloodline. Next, Fei Huang made arrangements one by one. Every genius had a specific arrangement and a place that was most suitable for them to cultivate. It could be seen that Fei Huang had spent a lot of effort during this period of time. Relatively speaking, these places are relatively safe. However, these places are all within the ruins of the universe. No one can guarantee 100% safety in the ruins of the universe. There could be danger at any time. Therefore, you must be careful when you cultivate. Take this jade talisman. If you encounter danger that you can't resist or feel that you've cultivated enough and want to leave, crush this jade talisman. I'll know, Fei Huang said. As she spoke, figures continuously walked out from her body. They were all Fei Huang's soul incarnations. A soul incarnation walked to Xian Yanqing's side. With a wave of its hand, it brought Xian Yanqing into the sky and disappeared. A soul incarnation came to Autumn Moon's side and brought Autumn Moon away. Every soul incarnation would take away a person. Very soon, there was only one person left at the scene, and that was Lu Ming. He stood there alone. Of course, there was also Fei Huang. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. After a while, he asked, That, Senior Fei Huang, where should I go to cultivate? Everyone had a place to go. He was the only one who hadn't been arranged. I don't know where to send you to cultivate. Fei Huang said helplessly. There's no suitable place for me to go? Lu Ming asked speechlessly. Indeed, there's no place that's particularly suitable for you to cultivate. The taboo body is rather special. It's very difficult to break through just by cultivating in seclusion. You have to face danger in actual combat in order to continuously break through and improve. Fei Huang said. Chapter 45-42. So, I can only go out and travel by myself? Lu Ming said. That's right. Moreover, with your current cultivation, you can enter the universe ruins for adventure. I can recommend you a few places. Fei Huang said. Senior, please tell me. Lu Ming said. Before that, you need to have a general understanding of the universe ruins. Also, you need to know what opportunities there are in the universe ruins. Fei Huang said. Senior, please enlighten me. Lu Ming looked like he was asking for advice. The opportunities in the universe ruins are mainly divided into 6 categories. The first is weapons. The universe ruins are left behind from the War of the Last Era. Too many years have passed. Not many things can survive such a long time without rotting. Those weapons that are not high enough, such as those on par with master-grade divine weapons, will rot after such a long time. Only source-grade divine weapons can be preserved. On the path of cultivation, no matter what kind of power one cultivates, whether it is the forbidden power, the power of the heavens, the power of gods, or the chi refinement arts of the last epoch, they are all connected in the end. They all return to the origin. Therefore, there were also source-grade divine weapons in the last era. Maybe they weren't called that in the last era, but they are similar to the current source-grade divine weapons. They all contain origin. In fact, the source-grade divine weapons used by many origin realm experts in the universe are mostly obtained from the universe ruins. They are refined later on, so there are relatively few of them. Fei Huang explained in detail. Hearing Fei Huang's explanation about source-grade divine weapons, Lu Ming understood a principle. No matter what kind of power you cultivate, you have to reach the origin realm in the end. However, there are more broken source-grade divine weapons in the universe ruins, and they are easier to obtain. Complete source-grade divine weapons are extremely rare. Of course, broken source-grade divine weapons are also very precious. The materials they contain can be used to forge source-grade divine weapons. Once you come across one, you can't miss it. Fei Huang said. Lu Ming naturally nodded. Of course, he wouldn't miss out on a broken source-grade divine weapon. He had the big eater little ball with him. Even if he didn't extract the materials inside, he could still feed it to little ball. Next is the second type of opportunity, which is the most widely distributed in the universe ruins and the easiest to obtain. It is the various precious ores, metals, and other refining materials. In the last era, the great desolate continent was shattered into countless fragments, forming countless small continents in the ruins of the universe. And those precious refining materials are hidden in these continents. These refining materials won't decay. Any continent in the universe ruins might have them. You also know that the current Great Desolate Universe's level is too low. After cultivating to the first level of the Divine Lord Realm, it will be very difficult to advance any further. By the same logic, the crafting materials in the primitive universe are not of high quality. Crafting materials that can be used to craft master-level magic weapons are extremely rare. And materials that can be used to craft source-grade magic weapons are even rarer. They are almost non-existent. In the universe ruins, there are many high-quality crafting materials. Now, most of the master-level magic weapons in the primitive universe are made of materials from the universe ruins. The same goes for source-grade magic weapons. Of course, there are even higher quality crafting materials in the universe ruins. Once you come across those materials, you must not miss them. When Fei Huang spoke up to this point, she did not stop. She continued, the third type of opportunity is the various ancient records. The universe ruins were left behind by the last era. After such a long time, ordinary ancient books naturally can't be preserved. However, there are some ancient books that are refined with special methods, or made with special materials, or hidden in special places. They are protected by immortal power and can be preserved. According to these ancient books, you can find out about the last era and understand some things about it. In fact, some of our understanding of the last era comes from these ancient books. Of course, there is also the possibility of obtaining the cultivation methods left behind by the last era, which is the Qi cultivation art. Some Qi cultivation arts are extremely mysterious and take the fortune of heaven and earth. For example, the 3 corpses art that I passed on to you is a Qi cultivation art that I obtained in the universe ruins. The 3 corpses art is actually a Qi cultivation art from the last era. Hearing Fei Huang's explanation, Lu Ming's heart trembled violently. Next is the 4th type of opportunity, which is some heavenly treasures, such as the creation divine water that I gave you before. However, this type of treasure is very rare, mainly because the universe ruins have experienced a fierce war. The rules and profound meanings are extremely chaotic, so it is very difficult to breed heavenly treasures that contain life essence. It is purely dependent on luck. The 5th type of opportunity is the most important goal of all Divine Master Realm experts when they enter the universe ruins. It is the primitive gem. Primitive gem? Lu Ming asked in confusion. There is primitive Qi in the Taishang Immortal City, which is completely different from the divine Qi of the primitive universe. It is of a higher level than divine Qi. It is the Qi of heaven and earth contained in the primitive continent of the last era, which can quickly increase one's cultivation. Now, there are very few places in the universe ruins that have primitive Qi. However, when the primitive Qi is rich to a certain extent, it will form primitive gems, which are buried underground like spirit stones and divine crystals. These Great Desolation crystals were formed during the Great Desolation continent back then. They are buried within the fragments of the continent. The energy contained within the Great Desolation crystals is not something that the Great Desolation pills in the Supreme Immortal City can compare to. They are much denser than the Great Desolation pills. The main goal of the divine masters of the primitive universe when they enter the universe ruins is the primitive gems. Only with the primitive gems can they continuously increase their cultivation. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for the divine masters to increase their cultivation. Moreover, the primitive gems will be more useful to you. You already have the origin seed and the direction is clear. You don't have to waste your energy to find the direction. As long as you continue to refine the primitive gems, you will be able to increase your cultivation. Therefore, your main goal when you enter the universe ruins is the primitive gems. Fei Huang said. It turns out that the divine masters rely on the primitive gems to increase their cultivation. Lu Ming finally understood. It was no wonder that all the almighty masters had to venture into the universe wasteland to explore. It was to search for the primordial gems. Of course, if someone constantly provided you with primitive gems, you would be able to increase your cultivation in the primitive universe. This is the 5th type of opportunity. Finally, there is the 6th type of opportunity, which is also the most important opportunity. The opportunity that makes people go crazy is the treasure that contains the origin mark. Fei Huang said. Treasure that contains the origin mark? What is that? Is it related to the origin realm? Lu Ming asked curiously. Chapter 45-43. You've guessed correctly. Treasures with origin imprints are indeed related to the origin realm. If origin realm existences want to increase their cultivation, they have to rely on their own talent to comprehend origin energy, but that's far too slow. If you have treasures with origin imprints, You can directly absorb the origin imprint within the treasure and directly increase the cultivation of origin realm existences, said Fei Huang. Fei Huang was shocked. Lu Ming was shocked. A treasure that could help reciprocity realm cultivators increase their cultivation was definitely extremely precious. Reciprocity realm experts would fight over it. It was no wonder that Fei Huang had said that this was the most important fortuitous encounter out of the 6 types of fortuitous encounters. The foundation of cultivators was their cultivation. An increase in cultivation was the greatest benefit. Any treasure that could increase cultivation was extremely valuable, let alone treasures that could increase the cultivation of origin realm experts. If he obtained one and sold it to a origin realm expert, he would be able to sell it for an astronomical price. As a result, you can keep it if you obtain it. Once you reach origin realm in the future, it'll be of great use. However, treasures with origin imprints are extremely rare, or it wouldn't be so difficult for origin realm existences in the universe to increase their cultivation. Fei Huang said. Lu Ming nodded. He understood this very well. The more valuable a treasure was, the more difficult it was to obtain and the rarer it was. Alright, that's all for the 6 types of fortuitous encounters in the ruins of the universe. I'll tell you about some of the dangers you'll encounter in the ruins of the universe. The ruins of the universe were formed from the destruction of the primeval continent in the last epoch. It can be described as an ancient battlefield. The laws and mysteries in the ruins of the universe are extremely chaotic, so it's very difficult to nurture large amounts of life. There aren't any powerful races. However, there are exceptions to everything. What exists in the ruins of the universe the most are various types of insects. These insects are tenacious, and some of them have even inherited the bloodlines of the last epoch. Under the chaotic laws and mysteries, they can constantly reproduce. As a result, you have to be careful of various insects in the ruins of the universe. Some extremely desolate continents might be inhabited by some terrifying insects. Some insects are extremely terrifying. There was once a origin realm expert who was bitten to death by a mosquito, said Fei Huang. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming became dumbfounded. The origin realm expert had been bitten to death by a mosquito in the ruins of the universe? What kind of mosquito was that? Why was it so terrifying? First of all, you have to be careful of the various insects. Also, the ruins of the universe are the battlefield of the last aeon. Countless experts have died there, so many evil things will appear. As a result, it's best if you don't go to places that you find evil or strange. Those places are often extremely dangerous. There have been many reciprocity experts who have died there. Of course, the most important thing is to be careful of the cultivators from the heavenly palace. They are the greatest danger. Lu Ming nodded as Fei Huang spoke. However, in the recent dozens of stellar years, there have been great changes in the universe ruins. The chaotic laws and Upanishads have slowly become orderly. Therefore, some of the continent fragments have given birth to some creatures and races that know how to cultivate. However, it hasn't been long, and these races haven't developed yet. They don't have many experts, so they aren't a threat. Of course, there's a lot more information about the universe ruins. I have a jade slip here with more information about the universe ruins. Take a look. With that, a jade slip appeared in Fei Huang's hand. She passed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming accepted it and sent his consciousness into it. Very soon, he memorized the contents of the jade slip. Many of the information about the universe ruins surprised Lu Ming. He felt like he had been a frog in a well before. This time, he had broadened his horizons. Alright, I've told you the basics. Now, it's up to you to choose where you want to explore. I have a few regions here. You can choose for yourself. A jade slip appeared in Fei Huang's hand. The jade slip glowed and a huge image appeared in the air. This is a map of the universe ruins. Of course, it's not complete. It's only a portion. The universe ruins are extremely vast. Over the countless years, the heavenly palace, the various races of the universe, and our heaven destroyer have only explored a third of the universe ruins. The remaining 2/3 are unknown. The regions that light up belong to regions that have already been explored. Fei Huang introduced. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. How many years had passed since then? After so many years, the experts of the Heavenly Palace, the various races of the universe, and the Heaven Destroyer had only explored a third of the universe ruins. The remaining two-thirds were still unknown. This was just too shocking. This meant that the universe ruins were extremely vast. Another reason was that the universe ruins were extremely dangerous. Otherwise, with the lifespan of the origin realm that existed with the universe, they could explore the entire universe ruins no matter how large they were. The main reason was that it was too dangerous. When exploring, they had to be careful and cautious. Naturally, their speed was very slow. We've also divided the ruins of the universe into small regions. These regions are very far apart from each other, and there's a long void between them. This is similar to the star regions in the primitive universe. Between different star regions, there's a long dark void. Of course, the area of each small region is much, much larger than the star regions of the primitive universe. Fei Huang explained. Lu Ming took a closer look. True enough, he saw that the map was divided into small and different regions. Between each region, there was a relatively long space of nothingness that separated them. Each region is different in size, characteristics, and species. Of course, the danger is also different. The closer it is to the depths of the universe ruins, the more dangerous it is. The few regions I've recommended to you are all relatively close to the periphery of the universe ruins. It's suitable for you to adventure with your current cultivation. Look, this region has some poisonous insects, but it's also rich in refining materials. Many people from the heavenly human race, the various races of the universe, and the Heaven Destroyer are exploring there. It'll be of some help to you. What do you think? Fei Huang pointed at a region that was relatively close to the periphery. Lu Ming looked at it and shook his head in the end. Fei Huang introduced again. This region is called the Six Snakes region. There's almost no exploration. Then, Fei Huang introduced 3 to 5 regions in a row, all of which were suitable for Lu Ming to explore at the moment. This region is called the Heavenly Star region. It's an area that has just been developed. It's basically occupied by the people of the Heavenly Palace. Only a few people from the Heaven Destroyer are active there. Fei Huang continued. When she introduced the Heavenly Star region, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Okay, I choose to go to the Heavenly Star region. Lu Ming said. You want to go to the Heavenly Star region? Most of the people who are active there are from the heavenly human race. Once you're in danger, you won't be able to find help. Fei Huang said. Only without help can my greatest potential be stimulated. Also, I can kill to my heart's content because they're from the heavenly human race. A ray of cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Chapter 45-44. There was another reason why Lu Ming chose the Heavenly Star region. The Heavenly Star region was newly developed and had not been explored much. This also meant that there were more opportunities. If an area had been discovered long ago, it would have been explored thousands of times. What opportunities would there be? Especially the desolate crystals. Lu Ming's main goal for this trip was to obtain the primordial crystal. This could increase his cultivation level rapidly. Although the treasures that contain the origin mark were precious, if one's cultivation had not reached the origin realm and could not absorb them, they could only stare at them helplessly. At present, the desolate crystals were the most practical for Lu Ming. Well, since you have made your choice, let's go. Your cultivation is different. You need to go through life and death situations to continuously improve. Therefore, my soul clone will not help you. If you encounter any danger, you have to deal with it yourself. Do you understand? Fei Huang said with a solemn expression. Understood. Lu Ming nodded. Well, take this map with you. Also, take this formation disc for metal materials with you. Then you can set off. Fei Huang said. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming took the map and formation disc and left without saying anything else. Before coming here, he had already said goodbye to his parents, disciples, and friends, so there was no need to say goodbye. After leaving Fei Huang's residence, Lu Ming directly flew towards the depths of the universe ruins. The universe ruins. Looking at the dark and lonely universe ruins, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. This was the first time he was going to explore the ruins of the universe. He couldn't help but look forward to it. What would be waiting for him? Compared to the Heaven Destroyer Station, the Heavenly Star region was naturally deeper in the universe ruins. There were several other regions in between. It was very far to go to the Heavenly Star region. Moreover, Lu Ming planned to cross the other regions. He planned to move forward through the void between the regions. Relatively speaking, the void did not have any fragments of the desolate continent. It would not give birth to any evil existences, nor would there be any insects. It was safer. The experts of the desolate universe usually went through the void between regions when they wanted to go to a certain region. This was because they did not have to worry about being attacked by other creatures in the void. They could increase their speed to the extreme. There were no wormholes in the universe ruins. This was because the laws here were chaotic. Even if the laws of the universe ruins seemed to have stabilized a lot in the past few decades, it was still extremely difficult to open a wormhole. Even experts of the space-time spirit mouse would find it difficult to open a wormhole across regions in the universe ruins. Therefore, one could only rely on himself to travel in the universe ruins. Given Lu Ming's speed, it took him a total of 7 days to reach the stellar sky area. Without hesitation, Lu Ming dashed into the territory of the Tianqing region. Once he entered the Heavenly Star area, he could see a continent floating in the air every time he flew a certain distance. These continents were all fragments of the desolate continent. Some were big and some were small. The small ones were only a few thousand kilometers. The big ones were boundless. There were also many larger-than-life planets. The scenery of the universe ruins is really different from the desolate universe. Lu Ming looked around as he flew. There were no planets in the universe ruins. There were only fragments of continents. The light source here was not a star, but a river. Yes, a river filled with flames, traversing the void. Some rivers stretched endlessly, comparable to a galaxy in the desolate universe. From afar, it really looked like a river flowing in the void. It was very spectacular. But once he got close, he would feel an astonishing temperature, 1,000 times more terrifying than a star. The light source of the universe ruins relied on this flame river. He did not know how this flame river was formed. The continent ahead is not bad. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming's eyes moved and saw a huge continent floating in front of him. The size of this continent was comparable to a life planet. Lu Ming flew over and retracted his aura. He stood in the sky above the continent and observed to see if there was any danger. It's dead silent. There are no living creatures or plants. There shouldn't be any danger. Lu Ming whispered and then landed on the continent. This continent was dead silent. As far as the eye could see, it was a kind of pitch-black stone. It's easier said than done to check if there are any precious metal mines on this vast and boundless continent. Lu Ming took out the array disk that Fei Huang gave him and sighed in his heart. The array disk that Fei Huang gave him was called the gold-seeking array disk. It could detect if there were any precious metal mines within a certain range. The gold-seeking array disk was almost a necessary treasure to find the universe ruins. When coming to an unfamiliar continent, it could be used to find precious metal mines. However, the range of the gold-seeking array disk was very limited. Fei Huang's gold-seeking array disk was considered top-notch, but it could only detect an area with a radius of 10,000 miles. It was difficult to detect anything beyond 10,000 miles. How long would it take to detect such a large continent? Lu Ming shook his head. He didn't come here to mine, so he naturally wouldn't spend so much time to detect if there were any metal mines. If he spent a few months to detect if there were no precious metal mines at all, wouldn't it be a big loss? Lu Ming, leave the matter of detecting metal mines to me. Why do you need to use an array disk? At this moment, Qiu said, Qiu, how long will it take you to finish detecting such a large continent? Lu Ming asked. 1 hour is enough. Qiu said proudly. 1 hour. Good. Lu Ming couldn't help but be overjoyed. If he could find some metal materials that could be used to forge master-grade or even origin-grade divine weapons, it would be a great harvest. After all, in the primitive universe, Regardless of whether it was a main-level magic weapon or a source-level magic weapon, they were all rare goods. Moreover, Lu Ming knew that there was a blacksmith master in the heaven-exterminating troop who could refine source-level divine weapons. He was at the origin realm. Although the success rate was very low, as long as there were enough refining materials, it would eventually succeed. Moreover, since the World Turtle Clan joined, the success rate of forging origin-grade divine weapons had greatly increased. The World Turtle Clan was proficient in rune formations, and rune formations were the foundation of forging weapons. Therefore, there were many experts in forging weapons in the World Turtle Clan. According to Dandan, one of the ancestors of the Turtle Clan in this world could also refine source-level divine weapons. In this way, in the Heaven Destroyer, there were 2 master refiners who could forge origin-grade divine weapons. As long as there were enough materials, they could still succeed. As for master-grade divine weapons, the success rate was even higher. Chapter 45-45. Whether it was a main-grade divine weapon or an origin-grade divine weapon, the more the better. Even if Lu Ming couldn't use it himself, he could sell it to the other experts of the Heaven Destroyer. After all, in the future, an origin-grade divine weapon could greatly increase the battle prowess of an origin realm expert. Moreover, Lu Ming urgently wanted to obtain some armor-type origin-grade divine weapons. Ever since he saw Yi Chu Tianji's origin-grade divine weapon armor, Lu Ming couldn't forget about it. Its defensive power was too strong. If he could wear this kind of armor, his life-saving ability in the future battle would definitely increase by a lot. He couldn't wait for his family and friends to wear this kind of armor. Speaking of Yi Chu Tianji's origin-grade divine weapon armor, Lu Ming had previously asked the master refiner of the World Turtle Clan if it could be repaired. The answer he gave was that it could be repaired, but it lacked 2 precious metal materials. The materials that could repair the origin-grade divine weapon armor were naturally incomparably precious. They could only be found in the ruins of the universe. This time, Lu Ming also wanted to try his luck on this trip to the ruins of the universe. He wanted to see if he could find the metal materials to repair the origin-grade divine weapon armor. Lu Ming, wait for me. After saying that, Qiu flew out of Lu Ming's hand and flew into the distance. Qiu, once you encounter other creatures, return immediately. Lu Ming informed. Don't worry. Qiu's figure disappeared after saying that. Lu Ming waited on the spot. In less than half an hour, Qiu returned. Lu Ming, I found a place with a metal mine underground. Qiu said. There really is. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Immediately, Lu Ming followed Qiu to a mountain peak. Although it was called a mountain peak, it was actually a protruding rock with no plants on it. I can sense that there is a metal mine under this mountain peak. Lu Ming, wait for me. I'll go down and take a look. With that said, Qiu plunged into the mountain peak. The rock was like tofu as Qiu dug out a huge hole. About 10 minutes later, Qiu flew out of the hole again. His body turned into a big round ball. He opened his mouth and a lump of metal flew out from his mouth. With a rumbling sound, the lump of metal smashed into the ground. It was as tall as a person and was incomparably heavy, causing the ground to rumble and explode. This is violet mist gold. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Lu Ming hadn't spent the past 10 years in the Heaven Destroyer for nothing. He had read many ancient books and learned about some high-grade metal materials. Flowing violet mist gold was an extremely high-grade metal material that could be used to forge main-grade divine weapons. Materials that could be used to forge master-level divine weapons were already very precious. Qiu had actually created such a huge mess in such a short time. Lu Ming, there is indeed a small vein of this kind of metal below. I just ate a lot of it. These were all purified by me. Qiu said to Qiu. Lu Ming nodded. He naturally understood that Qiu had purified them. Otherwise, how could metal ores be so pure? They definitely contained many impurities. Qiu, why didn't you eat them? Lu Ming asked curiously. Given Qiu's nature, would he obediently spit out such high-grade metal materials instead of eating them? There are too many impurities in my body. I need time to slowly digest them. I can't eat any other metal materials. Qiu said with a bitter expression. too many impurities. Is it because of the damaged source-level divine weapons you ate earlier? Lu Ming asked. Qiu had eaten so many damaged source-level divine weapons and damaged main-grade divine weapons, but his cultivation was still at the 9th level of the God Emperor realm. It wasn't normal that he hadn't broken through to the God Lord realm. According to Lu Ming's deduction, Qiu should have broken through to the God Lord realm long ago, or even surpassed Lu Ming's cultivation. Yes, not only damaged source-level divine weapons, but also damaged main-grade divine weapons. Eating too many of them will leave behind impurities. It was nothing before, but when I reached the 9th level of the God Emperor realm, there were too many impurities, so I couldn't evolve. Qiu said with a bitter expression. Then how can you get rid of the impurities? Lu Ming asked. There are 2 ways to get rid of the impurities. One is to slowly remove them by myself, but this method takes a very long time. I estimate that it will take at least tens of thousands of years. The other is to find a precious metal material called Ice Fire Star Silver. Qiu said. Ice Fire Star Silver is an essential material for forging source-level divine weapons? Lu Ming asked. Yes, that's the Ice Fire Star Silver. Qiu nodded. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. Ice Fire Star Silver wasn't easy to find. It was extremely precious. Because the current weapon forging masters in the primitive universe had to use Ice Fire Star Silver to forge source-level divine weapons. The Ice Fire Star Silver had an extremely special effect, which was that it could harmonize all sorts of different refining materials, allowing these different refining materials to blend together perfectly. This would greatly increase the success rate of forging source-level divine weapons. For example, if the weapon forging master in the Heaven Destroyer added Ice Fire Star Silver when he was forging source-level divine weapons, the success rate of forging source-level divine weapons would be about 20%. Without Ice Fire Star Silver, the success rate of forging source-level divine weapons would be less than 5%. Yes, even the top weapon forging masters in the universe had such a low success rate of forging source-level divine weapons. Originally, it was already extremely difficult to gather the materials needed to forge a source-grade weapon. Now that he had finally gathered all of them, there was a chance that he would fail if he tried to forge one. It would turn the precious materials into waste. But this was something that couldn't be helped. It was too difficult to find an intact source-level divine weapon in the ruins of the universe. Therefore, source-level divine weapons were so rare in the universe. Only those with great luck could obtain them. Even some Origin Realm experts didn't have source-level divine weapons. This showed how precious Ice Fire Star Silver was. After all, adding Ice Fire Star Silver in the process of forging source-level divine weapons could increase the success rate by more than 15%. And Qiu needed Ice Fire Star Silver to quickly refine the impurities in its body. How much do you need? Lu Ming asked. About 5 kilograms. Qiu's fairway. Hiss. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. 5 kilograms was too much. For other precious metals, a fingernail-sized piece would weigh hundreds of thousands or even millions of kilograms. But Ice Fire Star Silver was different. It was extremely light. A fist-sized piece of Ice Fire Star Silver weighed about 1 gram. And according to Lu Ming's knowledge, one only needed to add 1 kilogram of Ice Fire Star Silver to forge a source-level divine weapon. 5 kilograms of Ice Fire Star Silver was enough to forge 10 source-level divine weapons. Qiu also knew how rare Ice Fire Star Silver was. It could only say with a sad face, "Looks like I can only slowly polish it and spend tens of thousands of years to refine it. After tens of thousands of years, I don't know how many streets my cultivation will be left behind by you." Chapter 45-46. Don't worry, take your time. Lu Ming patted Qiu's chubby head and comforted it. Qiu continued to wear a bitter face. Qiu, go and continue mining. I'll store these metals for you to eat when you break through to the Divine Master Realm. Lu Ming encouraged Qiu. Of course, he wouldn't let Qiu store them. He would take them out to refine weapons when he returned. Of course, Qiu needed encouragement. But sure enough, Qiu was energized. It drilled into the ground and dug with all its might. Lu Ming followed the tunnel dug by Qiu and went inside to take a look. The ground was indeed filled with sparkling purple flowing violet gold ore. Qiu's body became huge. It opened its mouth and swallowed a large amount of ore into its stomach. After a while, it spat out all the impurities. What was left in its mouth was pure flowing violet gold. It's really comfortable to bring Qiu to the universe ruins. Even if the other gains are small, the metal materials will definitely be a big harvest. Lu Ming smiled. What a pity! If Qiu had reached the Divine Master realm, its ability to mine and purify metals would have been greatly improved. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Qiu continued to mine and purify the ores with all its might. Because Lu Ming would store them for it, it would belong to it in the future, so it naturally worked hard. Lu Ming returned to the ground, sat cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Although he couldn't increase his cultivation now, he could comprehend the primitive style. In addition, he could also comprehend the battle character manual. Half a month passed in Lu Ming's cultivation process. In this half a month, Qiu had completely emptied the small underground mine and purified more than 100 million gene of flowing violet gold. More than 100 million gene of flowing violet gold was enough to refine 10 main-grade divine weapons. Of course, a main-grade divine weapon couldn't use only one material. It needed to be matched with other precious materials. But this was still a big harvest. After emptying the mine, Qiu explored the entire continent but didn't find anything else. Then, the two of them left the continent and continued to travel. Lu Ming didn't have a goal. As long as he saw a continent that he felt was alright, he would go and take a look. If he wanted to gain something, he would have to rely on luck and opportunity. It was said that the cultivators of the previous epoch liked to open up cultivation caves in various famous mountains and great rivers. In the great desolate continent of the previous era, there were countless cave dwellings of experts. Later on, they were shattered. Some of the cave dwellings might have been preserved and were scattered among the various fragments of the continent. If he found a cave left behind by an expert from the previous era on a fragment of a continent, he might make a shocking discovery. There were many such examples in history. Hence, the ruins of the universe were like an endless treasure trove, waiting to be excavated. It also attracted countless experts to enter. However, Lu Ming's luck seemed to have run out. Over the next few months, he and Qiu explored several dozen continents but did not make any major discoveries. There were a few continents that contained metal or veins. However, the metal was of a lower grade and could only be used to forge godly emperor or godly emperor level weapons. Lu Ming naturally didn't care about such metals. He also didn't bother to spend time for Qiu to excavate them. It wasn't until 3 months later that Lu Ming and Qiu discovered a precious metal on another continent. It was a metal that could be used to forge master-level weapons. Qiu spent more than 10 days excavating all the metals here. In these few months, Lu Ming didn't encounter any danger, nor did he encounter any living creatures. Naturally, he didn't encounter anyone from the heavenly palace either. The ruins of the universe are really desolate. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. However, he thought of another problem that shocked him. That was the Great War of the previous era. The Great War of the previous era had actually shattered the vast great desolate continent. This was simply unbelievable. As his understanding of the ruins of the universe deepened, Lu Ming felt more and more terrified. The ruins of the universe were too big. There were countless fragments of continents. How big would these fragments be when gathered together? How grand would it be? What kind of existence and what kind of battle power could destroy such a grand continent? In any case, it was impossible for an origin realm existence to do so. Other things aside, an origin realm existence couldn't even destroy a planet like the Dragon Clan's mother planet, let alone the great desolate continent of the previous era. Moreover, after the destruction, the laws and mysteries of the universe had been thrown into chaos for countless years. It had only slowly recovered in the recent few dozen stellar years. The influence of a great war that lasted for such a long time could be described as astonishing. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the previous era was like a bottomless pit. It was unfathomable, like a cloud of fog that was difficult to see through. He shook his head and tossed these complicated thoughts out of his mind. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was because he saw a continent ahead to his right. It was extremely huge, much bigger than any continent he had encountered before. Moreover, this continent actually had plants. It was a kind of pitch-black plant. Even its leaves were pitch-black. Lu Ming flew over quickly and examined it from afar. Indeed, many places on this continent were covered in pitch-black plants. This continent can actually give birth to plants. It must be very rich in resources. I wonder if there are desolate crystals here? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Desolate crystals contained powerful energy. At the same time, they would radiate and nourish everything. There were many plants here. Perhaps they really did contain desolate crystals. However, plants might also give birth to some terrifying insects. Lu Ming was a little more careful. He concealed his aura and arrived above a forest. He released his spiritual sense and enveloped the forest, carefully observing it. There are no living creatures here. After a while, Lu Ming whispered. This forest only had plants. There were no living creatures. However, Lu Ming did not let down his guard. After all, this was the ruins of the universe. Any place could be filled with danger. In history, who knew how many experts had died in the ruins of the universe? Lu Ming obviously would not let down his guard. He continued to investigate with his spiritual sense as he flew. However, Lu Ming still did not find any living creatures after investigating a large area. Only then did Lu Ming let down his guard slightly. Perhaps this continent only gave birth to plants and did not give birth to other living creatures. Qiu, go down and check if there are any metal ores. Also, look for desolate crystals. I'll go and see if there are any desolate crystals. Lu Ming said. Okay, leave it to me. After saying that, Qiu flew out and searched along the ground. Lu Ming, on the other hand, flew in another direction. He could only rely on his senses to find desolate crystals. Where there were desolate crystals, the energy of heaven and earth would definitely be abnormal. It was not difficult to sense it. Lu Ming sensed as he flew. Unfortunately, after flying over half of the continent, he did not find anything abnormal. However, at this time, Qiu sent a message that he had found something. Chapter 45-47. Hearing the news from Qiu, Lu Ming immediately flew over. Lu Ming, I found a mine underground. I feel that the metals in this mine are very high grade. I'm drooling just looking at them. Qiu shouted and flew around Lu Ming excitedly. Very high grade? More high grade than the ones we found before? Lu Ming's heart stirred and he quickly asked. Yes, they are all high grade. Much more high grade. They look delicious. Qiu shouted excitedly. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming was a little impatient. More high grade than the metals he found before. Could it be a material that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons? Lu Ming followed the tunnel that Qiu dug and kept going down. This time, the tunnel that Qiu dug was very deep. Lu Ming felt that he had flown down for hundreds of thousands of miles before finally reaching his destination. He found that the depths of the underground were pitch black. From afar it looked like night. Could this be the ore of Black Heaven Source Gold? Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but beat faster. Black Heaven Source Gold was an important material that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons. Moreover, it was one of the two main materials used to forge soul-level divine weapons. The other material was called Red Blood Origin Gold. As long as there was enough Black Heaven Source Gold and Red Blood Origin Gold, as well as some other materials that were not as high-grade, one could forge soul-level divine weapons. Of course, the success rate would be higher if Ice Fire Star Silver was added. This was a top-grade divine metal that could be used to forge soul-level divine weapons. He didn't expect to find such a large piece. Qiu, purify some for me to see. Lu Ming said. Without purifying it, he couldn't make an accurate judgment just by looking at the ore. Okay, but the metal content in this ore is very low. It won't be easy to purify it. It will take some time. With that, Qiu opened his mouth wide and chewed on the black ore. Large chunks of ore were swallowed by Qiu. However, it was clear that Qiu's biting speed was not as fast as before. Lu Ming gave it a try and discovered that the black ore was extremely hard. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife, but he could only cut off a palm-sized piece of the ore. Lu Ming's full-powered palm strike was even sharper than some master-grade divine weapons. Yet, he was only able to slice off a small piece of it. One had to know that this was only an ore, not a purified metal, yet it was still so hard. No wonder Qiuqiu's biting speed was much slower. 2 hours later, Qiuqiu had swallowed about 100 cubic meters of ore. It stopped and began to purify. After an entire day, Qiuqiu spat out a large piece of impurities. Then, a longan-sized piece of metal flew out of Qiuqiu's mouth. Lu Ming grabbed it and his arm trembled. So heavy! It was a piece of metal the size of a longan, but Lu Ming felt as if he had grabbed a planet. It's the black heavenly source gold. Sure enough, it's the black heavenly source gold. Ah, I'm rich. Lu Ming was ecstatic. Lu Ming, what is this metal called? It's really delicious, but I don't dare to eat it now. You keep it for me. After I refine the impurities, you can give it to me. Qiuqiu's alley. It's called the black heavenly source gold. Don't worry, I'll keep it safe for you. Lu Ming smiled cunningly. Unfortunately, the naive Qiuqiu couldn't tell and was immediately excited. This metal's level is too high. It's very slow for me to purify it. If my cultivation is higher, it will be faster. Lu Ming, you have to wait for me. Qiuqiu's alley. It's okay. There's no harm in waiting. Lu Ming said. Okay, I'm going to go all out. Qiuqiu pounced out excitedly and began to chew on the ore. Qiuqiu, work hard. I'll find some broken source-grade divine weapons to compensate you later. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Naturally, he couldn't give such a precious metal to Qiuqiu. The black heavenly source gold was incomparably hard. If he could collect the red blood source gold, add the ice fire star silver, and some other materials, he could find a refining master to refine source-grade divine armors. As for the broken source-grade divine weapons, although they also contained precious materials, they needed to be purified. Ordinary people couldn't do it at all. Only a top refining master could do it. It was too troublesome. He might as well give it to Qiuqiu. This time, Qiuqiu gnawed on a few thousand cubic meters of ore at once before it began to purify. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the spot and began to comprehend the primitive style. The primitive ring floated above Lu Ming's head. His spiritual sense entered the primitive ring and looked at the mountains and continents inside. The primitive ring might really be refined from a fragment of the primitive continent of the last era. Moreover, it was a fragment that was in good condition. It was completely different from the fragments in the universe ruins. He could see the scenery of the primitive continent of the last era. With this as a comparison, Lu Ming had a new understanding of the primitive style every time. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed. Qiuqiu finally purified the ore it had eaten before and obtained a bowl-sized lump of black heavenly source gold. Not bad, not bad. 10 more pieces of black heavenly source gold of this size will be enough to refine an source-grade divine weapon. Lu Ming smiled and put this lump of black heavenly source gold into the primitive ring. It was naturally safer to keep such a precious treasure in the primitive ring. Qiuqiu pounced again and gnawed on the black heavenly source gold while Lu Ming continued to cultivate. However, a few hours later, he heard Qiuqiu's voice. Lu Ming, come into. What is this? Qiuqiu shouted. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and appeared beside Qiuqiu in a flash. He looked forward. That is, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. There was an egg-sized crystal embedded in the ore wall covered in teeth marks. The crystal was milky white. Lu Ming could feel that the crystal contained an extremely dense energy. Furthermore, the crystal was constantly emitting strands of energy. Lu Ming was all too familiar with this kind of energy. Back then, he had refined a lot of it in the Supreme Immortal City. Primitive Qi. That's right. The energy emitted by this crystal was primitive Qi. In that case, this crystal was the primitive crystal. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. He had never expected that this black heavenly source gold ore would contain a primitive crystal. He had guessed that this continent should have primitive crystals. Otherwise, it would not have nurtured so many plants. However, he had never found one before. He had not expected the primitive ring to be in the black heavenly source gold ore. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife as he continuously hacked at the ore, chopping it off along with the primitive crystal. Then he broke off the edge of the ore and a complete primitive crystal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Just by holding it in his hand, he could feel the surging and pure energy inside. Chapter 45-48. Qiuqiu, continue refining the black heaven source gold. If you find this kind of crystal, let me know. Lu Ming instructed Qiuqiu before sitting down cross-legged. He was ready to absorb this desolate crystal to cultivate and see if the desolate crystal was effective. He held the desolate crystal with both hands and circulated the forbidden energy. A strong suction force was produced. Hoo, the desolate crystal produced a wind-like sound. Then, rich and pure energy continuously flowed into Lu Ming's body. Such pure energy. It's the same as the desolate pill. Lu Ming showed a hint of joy. The energy in the desolate crystal was similar to the desolate pill in the Tai Supreme Immortal City. It was extremely pure and easy to absorb. However, the energy in the desolate crystal was many times more concentrated than the desolate pill. The rich energy was like a river that flowed into Lu Ming's body continuously. Then, it was refined by Lu Ming and turned into forbidden energy. Lu Ming used about an hour to use up all the energy in the desolate crystal. My cultivation has indeed improved a little. The desolate crystal is truly mysterious. Lu Ming secretly assessed his own cultivation level. He had an even greater desire for the primordial crystal. Just one desolate crystal had increased Lu Ming's cultivation a little. Of course, he was still very far from the second level of the Divine Master Realm. In the Divine Master Realm, increasing one's cultivation by one level required a huge amount of energy. Needless to say, Lu Ming had a forbidden body. The amount of energy required to increase one's cultivation by one level was even more terrifying. However, Lu Ming estimated that he only needed about 100 desolate crystals to increase his cultivation to the peak of the first level of the Divine Master Realm. As for how many desolate crystals he would need to break through to the second level of the Divine Master Realm, it was hard to estimate. I hope there are more desolate crystals in this area. Lu Ming showed an expectant look as he comprehended and waited. However, Qiuqiu didn't find a second desolate crystal after eating a few hundred cubic meters of ore. This disappointed Lu Ming. Is there only one desolate crystal here? Lu Ming frowned as he pondered. However, there was no point in being anxious. He could only wait for Qiuqiu to finish purifying before continuing to dig. It was impossible for him to dig by himself. The ores were too hard, and the efficiency was too low. After spending an entire day, Qiuqiu spat out another piece of black heaven source gold the size of a rice bowl and continued to chew on it. This time, it didn't take long before Qiuqiu cried out again because it had discovered another desolate crystal. Lu Ming was delighted. It would appear that there was more than one great desolate crystal in this region. Instead, they were scattered all over the place. Lu Ming took down the Great Desolation Crystal and continued to absorb and refine it. There was no need to store a treasure like the Great Desolate Crystal. Once one obtained it, one had to refine it. Only by turning it into one's own strength would one be able to bring out its value. It did not take long for Lu Ming to absorb and refine the second Desolation Crystal. His cultivation base increased by another step. Just like that, Qiuqiu excavated and refined ores while Lu Ming cultivated and waited. Soon, Lu Ming and Qiuqiu had stayed here for 2 years. In 2 years, the amount of black heaven source gold that Qiuqiu had extracted was enough to refine 4 origin-grade divine weapons. As for Lu Ming, he had obtained a total of more than 50 desolate crystals. After refining all of them, his cultivation base had increased tremendously. He was getting closer and closer to the peak of the first tier of the Divine Master Realm. Qiuqiu estimates that there's about half of the black heaven source gold left in this region. If there are desolate crystals scattered all over, I can obtain about 50 more desolate crystals. That's enough for me to reach the peak of the first tier of the Divine Master Realm. Lu Ming revealed a smile. It was definitely a great opportunity to obtain such a harvest after only a few years in the cosmic ruins. He had obtained so many desolate crystals and black heaven source gold in a few years. If other divine master realm existences knew about this, their eyes would turn purple with envy. It should be known that although the cosmic ruins was a treasure trove that contained endless treasures and opportunities, it was simply too big. Not to mention other things, just a random fragment of a continent was shockingly large. It was extremely difficult to find treasures in the vast ruins of the universe. Many people had wandered around the cosmic ruins for tens or hundreds of thousands of years without finding anything. Lu Ming could only obtain such a harvest because he had Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu was extremely sensitive to metallic materials and ores. Even if they were hidden hundreds of thousands of miles underground, it could still sense them. The disc array that Fei Huang had given Lu Ming to sense metallic materials could not sense such a deep region at all. Without Qiuqiu, Lu Ming would not have been able to find the black heaven source gold and desolate crystals here. Unless Lu Ming spent a large amount of time digging holes in the ground to search. However, if he did that, the time would have to be calculated in thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Just like before, Lu Ming comprehended the desolate style and battle formula while waiting for Qiuqiu. At this moment, a group of people appeared in the sky above the continent. There were more than a dozen of them, and they were actually from the Heavenly Human Tribe. The Heavenly Human Tribe members looked around as soon as they arrived in the sky above the continent. The plants produced by this continent are very likely to contain desolate crystals. One of the Heavenly Human Tribe elders said. He had a high nose bridge and a broad chin. When he opened and closed his eyes, there was a murderous glint in them. But this continent is so big. It will be very difficult to find it. Another middle-aged Heavenly Human Tribe man said. It doesn't matter if it's difficult or not. Once we find something, it will be a great harvest. Let's split up and search. Maybe we can even find precious metals. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge chuckled. Then he ordered the other Heavenly Human Tribe members to split up and search. Each of the Heavenly Human Tribe members had a disc array in their hands. It was refined by the master refiner of the Heavenly Palace and was specially used to search for metals. The Heavenly Human Tribe members spread out across the continent and began to search. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. The Heavenly Human Tribe members did not find anything. Could it be that this continent doesn't have any precious metals or desolate crystals? It can't be. Could it be hidden deep underground? But it's difficult to find it if it's deep underground. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge frowned as he flew while holding the disc array. Suddenly he took out a jade talisman. It was a voice transmission jade talisman. He had just received a message. The illusory divine jade lost its effect after entering the universe ruins. The Heavenly Human Tribe members could only use voice transmission jade talismans to communicate over short distances. I found something. The Heavenly Human Tribe elder's eyes lit up. Then he flew toward the north. After some time, they arrived in the air above a dense forest. What did you find? The Heavenly Human Tribe elder with the high nose bridge asked impatiently as soon as he arrived. At this moment, the other Heavenly Human Tribe members had already gathered here. Sir, when I was searching, I found a cave below the forest. It seems to have been dug out by someone. One of the Heavenly Human Tribe members reported. Chapter 45-49. Could it be that someone else has already found the cave? Bring me there. The bridge of his nose was high and his eyes were cold. Yes. The Heavenly Human from before nodded and led the group down into the forest. They arrived at a patch of grass. Sure enough, there was a cave in the bush. This cave was the mine that Qiuqiu had dug out. This cave seems to have been dug out not long ago. It's definitely not more than 10 years old. The middle-aged Heavenly Human said. Among the dozen or so Heavenly Humans, the middle-aged Heavenly Human and the old man with the high nose were obviously the leaders. I wonder who was one step ahead of us. Is it our own people, Heaven Destroyer's people, or someone from another race? The old man with the high nose said. If there really are metal ores down there, the other party wouldn't have left so quickly. Let's go down and take a look. The middle-aged Heavenly Human's eyes flashed coldly. That's right. Let's go down and take a look. The few of you stay outside. The rest of you follow us in. The heavenly human tribe elder with a tall nose instructed. Out of the 13 of them, 3 were left to stand guard outside while the remaining 10 flew into the mine. The mine was straight down. The 10 heavenly humans concealed their auras and carefully descended. At the same time, all kinds of weapons appeared in their hands, ready to attack at any time. Although the Heavenly Star District was a newly developed area of the heavenly human tribe, there was no guarantee that no one else would come in. If it was the heavenly human tribe or someone from another race in the mine, it would be fine. However, if it was the Heaven Destroyer's people, they would directly attack. In the mine, Lu Ming was still cultivating with his eyes closed. Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Someone was coming down. Lu Ming's spirit sense was extremely sharp. Although the heavenly human tribe's people had concealed their auras, he still sensed them. Qiu, come here. Someone's coming. Lu Ming transmitted his voice with his spirit sense. Qiu flew back to Lu Ming's side like a bolt of lightning. Then, it quickly squirmed on Lu Ming's body, transforming into an armor that covered Lu Ming's entire body. Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed and he arrived at the ore wall. His body merged with the ore wall and became one with the surrounding black heaven source gold Oregon. This was of course Qiu's special ability. It could completely merge its body into metal ores without any flaws. Qiu enveloping Lu Ming had a similar effect. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the great concealing art to restrain his aura. Lu Ming had just hidden himself when the 10 heavenly human tribe members arrived. As soon as the 10 heavenly human tribe cultivators arrived, they were already in a defensive position. No one. Not a single person. Could it be that they have already left? What a big mine. They actually dug out such a big space. This is definitely not something that can be done in 10 years. Could it be that they have a lot of people? These look like teeth marks. That's strange. What did they use to dig them out? After the heavenly human tribe cultivators sized up the mine, they began to discuss among themselves. After more than 2 years, Qiu had already gnawed out half of the ore. A huge underground space had appeared. Don't let your guard down. The ore here is obviously not finished. How could the other party leave so easily? They might be hiding in the dark. Don't let your guard down. The old man with the tall nose said coldly. His eyes were like lightning as he looked around. The other heavenly human tribe cultivators also looked around carefully. They spread out their spiritual senses and searched carefully. However, they did not find anything. They did not find Lu Ming. Indeed, there is no one. Perhaps the other party really did have something urgent to attend to and left. The heavenly human tribe cultivators finally let down their guard. Even the heavenly human elder with the tall nose was the same. What kind of ore is this? At this moment, the heavenly human tribe cultivators finally focused their attention on the ore. When they took a closer look, their eyes widened and their hearts raced. They were extremely shocked. These seemed to be black heaven source gold ores. Yes, they are really black heaven source gold ores. That's right. I've seen them before. There are so many black heaven source gold ores. We're rich. The heavenly human tribe cultivators were ecstatic. Even the 2 leaders of the heavenly human tribe cultivators, the old man with the tall nose and the burly man, were ecstatic. Their breathing became heavy. Those were black heaven source gold ores. Even if they were not purified, they would be invaluable. What a pity. So much of the black heaven source gold ores have been dug out. Then, the heavenly human tribe cultivators were heartbroken. Clang. An old man took out a shovel and started to dig. However, when the shovel landed on the ore, it made clanging sounds and sparks. However, it only left a shallow mark on the ore. The old man's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the divine god realm. He could not dig it out at all. The black heaven source gold ores are extremely hard. Only divine masters with special tools can dig it out. Don't think about it. Stay here obediently. We'll give you some later. The burly man in the lead grinned. Those God Emperor realm existences looked dejected. Lu Ming had been secretly observing the 10 heavenly human tribe cultivators. 2 4th-layer divine masters, 1 3rd-layer divine master, 1 2nd-layer divine master, and 6 ninth-layer Divine Masters. Lu Ming thought to himself. His expression was grave. The heavenly human tribe cultivators were extremely powerful. The 6 ninth-layer Divine Masters of the heavenly human tribe were negligible. However, the 4 Divine Masters were not to be underestimated. They were from the heavenly human tribe. Their combat power was stronger than ordinary tribes. In particular, the 2 4th-tier Divine Master experts gave Lu Ming a lot of pressure. I can't give up on the Black Heaven Source Gold. I have to get rid of these heavenly human tribe cultivators. Lu Ming thought to himself. The Black Heaven Source Gold was a special material for crafting soul-grade divine weapons. It was too rare and precious. Lu Ming did not want to give it up. The remaining Black Heaven Source Gold ores would be enough to craft 2 soul-grade divine weapons. Moreover, the Black Heaven Source Gold ores contained desolate crystals. However, the 2 4th-layer Divine Masters were not easy to deal with. My advantage is that they haven't discovered me yet. If I launch a sudden attack and kill or severely injure one of the 4th-layer Divine Masters, I might have a chance of winning. Lu Ming analyzed the combat power of the 2 sides. If the 2 4th-layer Divine Masters of the heavenly human tribe teamed up, Lu Ming might not be their match. However, if he could get rid of one of them right from the start, Lu Ming still had some confidence in dealing with one of them. As long as his opponent was not a freak or a monster. His trump card was the Origin Energy. If he used it together with the War God Spear, he was confident that he could deal with one of them. After making up his mind, Lu Ming started to prepare. The forbidden energy in his body started to circulate. He was ready to take out the War God Spear at any time. However, at this moment, the heavenly human elder with the tall nose suddenly turned around and scanned the surroundings. Chapter 45-50. The heavenly human elder with the tall nose seemed to have discovered something. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly stopped circulating the forbidden energy and restrained his aura. As expected of a 4th-layer Divine Master expert, his spiritual perception was extremely sharp. He seemed to have discovered something when Lu Ming had just circulated the forbidden energy. Yi Chu Gongcong, what did you discover? The leader of the group asked. I suddenly felt that something was wrong. I sensed danger, the heavenly human elder with the tall nose said. The tall-nosed celestial race elder said. His name was Yi Chu Gongcong. You sense danger? But there aren't any other living beings here? The leader asked. His spiritual perception was obviously not as good as Yi Chu Gongcong's. It's better to be careful. After all, the other party only dug out a portion of the ore here before leaving. You should know that this is Black Heaven Source Gold or, Yi Chu Gongcong said. No one would complain about having too much of such precious ore. However, only a portion of the ore had been dug out. Clearly, something was wrong. You're right. This matter is indeed strange. However, we can't rule out the possibility that the other party left because of an emergency. Still, it's better to be safe than sorry. The 6 of you, search the surroundings carefully. Check inch by inch. See if there are any abnormalities or hidden formations. The leading burly man ordered the 6 celestial emperors. Yes. The 6 divine emperors of the heavenly human tribe obeyed the order. Then, they came to the underground space and started to search inch by inch. They were afraid that someone had set up a hidden formation in a corner. Someone was hiding in the dark. One of the heavenly human elders quickly approached Lu Ming. He kept patting the wall with his hand and injected heavenly power. Once there was a formation, it would definitely react. Qiu, let's hide behind. Lu Ming secretly communicated with Qiu. Qiu took Lu Ming and moved silently through the ore until they were a few hundred meters deep. The 9th-layer Divine Emperor Heavenly Human didn't find anything when he checked where Lu Ming had been. After that person left, Qiu brought Lu Ming outside and floated on the surface of the ore. This way, Lu Ming could better observe the other party. Not long after, the 6 heavenly humans thoroughly searched the place, inch by inch, but they still failed to find anything. Yi Chu Gongcong, it seems like you're overthinking things. With such a meticulous search, if there was someone hiding in the dark, we would have found them long ago. The leader of the group laughed. Yechu Gongsong also nodded and didn't say much. Let's start mining. Such a hard or will take a long time. The leader said. A shovel appeared in his hand. Clang, clang, clang. He began to dig. The other two divine master heavenly humans also began to dig. Yechu Gongsong's eyes flickered a few times. He shook his head and smiled. It seems that I was overthinking. After saying that, a shovel appeared in his hand and he was ready to start digging. However, at this moment, Yechu Gongsong suddenly took a step forward. His body was like a flash of lightning as he dashed toward the wall on the side. He was rushing toward the place where Lu Ming was hiding. As he was rushing out, the shovel in his hand disappeared. It was replaced by a long spear. The sharp spear was covered in heavenly energy as it pierced toward Lu Ming. This scene greatly exceeded Lu Ming's expectations. Lu Ming really thought that the other party hadn't discovered him, so he relaxed a little. He didn't expect the other party to suddenly attack. At this moment, it was too late for Qiuqiu to take him deeper into the ore. He could only take the attack head-on. Qiuqiu, don't attack. Lu Ming shouted. He shook his arms and shook off Qiuqiu's attack. Then he threw a punch. Qiuqiu was only a divine emperor. He didn't need Qiuqiu to help him block the other party's attack. The difference between them was too great. Although Qiuqiu had strong vitality, it was still very likely that it would be killed by the other party in one move. Boom! Lu Ming's fist landed on the other party's long spear. There was a loud bang and the entire mine cave shook violently. This move also sent Lu Ming flying out. He slid along the stone wall of the mine cave. There was a bloody hole on his fist. Even his bones were pierced and blood was gushing out of it. Just now, the other party had been accumulating energy for this attack while he had only taken it head-on. He was naturally no match for the other party. What? There really is someone. The other celestial race experts also reacted. The three Godlord experts stopped digging, and powerful energies enveloped Lu Ming. A first-level Godlord was actually able to block one of my attacks. Kid, your strength isn't bad. No, you're Lu Ming. Yechu Gongsong coldly said at first, but he immediately recognized Lu Ming and raised his voice. Lu Ming had been alone in this mine, so he naturally wouldn't use the great imitation art to hide his identity. Thus, the other party had recognized him at a glance. It really is Lu Ming. Haha, I didn't expect to run into him here. As long as we can take him down, Lord Empyrean will definitely reward us handsomely. The other Divine Lord experts were overjoyed. The fourth-level God Lord expert in particular was all smiles, his eyes blazing. Lu Ming was now a hot steamed bun in the eyes of the celestial race. Anyone who could take down Lu Ming would be able to ascend to the heavens in a single step. But Lu Ming had been hiding in the Heaven Destroyer base this entire time. Even though the countless experts of the Heavenly Palace wanted to take down Lu Ming, they couldn't do anything about it. But they hadn't expected to run into Lu Ming here. How did you discover me? Lu Ming stared at Yechu Gongsong and asked. I didn't discover you. I just sensed a wisp of killing intent leaking out from this place. I'm a paranoid person, so I decided to test it out. I didn't expect someone to really be hiding here, and it's you, Lu Ming. As Yechu Gongsong spoke, he moved closer to the entrance of the mine to prevent Lu Ming from escaping. This guy is really meticulous, Lu Ming frowned. He had indeed planned to retreat if he couldn't win. But since the other party had already blocked his path of retreat, he could only fight. Let's test the strength of these people first. If they aren't too monstrous and abnormal, I might be able to put up a fight. Lu Ming thought as the forbidden energy in his body circulated wildly. The War God Spear also appeared in his hand. Moreover, the battle character art had already activated 7 times the fighting strength and was trying to activate 8 times the fighting strength. Why waste words with him? Kill. The leader shouted. His burly body pressed toward Lu Ming like a mountain. A golden giant hammer appeared in his hand, and he smashed it toward Lu Ming's head. The giant hammer was covered in a layer of gray energy. It was the heavenly extermination energy, one of the most powerful heavenly powers. Heaven Breaker! Lu Ming shouted softly. The War God's spear pierced out and pierced the golden hammer. Chapter 45-51. The war god's spear collided with the golden war hammer, causing an earth-shattering explosion. Violent energy waves swept out in all directions. Not good. There were 6 other cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer in that area. Their facial expressions changed drastically. 4 of them frantically retreated, trying to avoid the sweeping force. 2 of them were smarter and didn't retreat. Instead, they rushed toward Yechu Gongcong. "Come to me!" shouted Yechu Gongcong furiously. He released his strength and surrounded the 2 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer, but the other 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer were too late. The 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer were surrounded by the qi. They tried their best to resist, but it was useless. The qi released by the collision between Lu Ming and the celestial human cultivator was too strong. 4 horrible shrieks were heard. The 4 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer had turned into ashes. As for the 2 experts who were protected by Yechu Gongzong, their faces were pale, and their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. If they hadn't reacted in time, they would have ended up the same way. When immortals fight, mortals suffer. This was the truth. "All of you, go out and guard the entrance." Yechu Gongzong ordered the 2 9th layer God Emperors. In any case, celestial emperors wouldn't be of much help in a battle between existences of their level. If they stayed here, they would only be a hindrance. Yes. The 2 cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer hurriedly flew up to the hole and left. Bang, bang, bang. The collision between Lu Ming and the burly man from the heavenly human tribe ended with Lu Ming at a disadvantage. Lu Ming's body shook violently as he retreated continuously. He retreated more than 10 steps before he could stabilize himself. "Die, brat!" Seeing that Lu Ming was knocked back with a single blow, the heavenly human tribe man became even more confident. With a roar, he brandished his warhammer and continued to attack Lu Ming. The warhammer was like a small mountain, pressing down on Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming blocked the attack and continued to retreat. Meanwhile, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe rained down attacks on Lu Ming like a torrential storm. In the blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged more than a dozen moves. With every move, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. After a dozen moves, Lu Ming had already retreated to the bottom of the wall. Lu Ming die. The middle-aged man from the heavenly human tribe laughed loudly. He raised his strength to the extreme and smashed his hammer toward Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming completely. You're not qualified to kill me." Lu Ming coldly snorted. The war god's spear buzzed and a dazzling spear burst forth, piercing towards the celestial race's muscular man. Clang! The 2 of them exchanged another blow. However, this time, Lu Ming's body only retreated 2 steps, while the burly man from the heavenly human tribe also took a step back. Although Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage, he was only at a slight disadvantage. The gap between them was not that big anymore. This was because the battle incantation had successfully increased his combat strength by 8 times. It had to be said that the burly man from the heavenly human tribe was really amazing. He was even stronger than Yiwu. Of course, Yiwu was naturally stronger in a battle of the same level. However, Yiwu's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Divine Master realm and half of his forbidden power had been stripped away. In that state, Yiwu's combat strength was not as strong as the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. Therefore, he was able to gain the upper hand in the battle with Lu Ming. "Boy, you're still hiding your strength? It's useless even if you're hiding your strength. You'll still die." Kill. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared and charged toward Lu Ming crazily. Yechu, Gongcong, and the other 2 divine masters did not move. They blocked the exit, afraid that Lu Ming would take the opportunity to escape. The main reason was that they felt that the burly man from the heavenly human tribe alone was enough to deal with Lu Ming. Primitive style. This time, Lu Ming let the war god's spear float in the air. He quickly formed a seal with his hands and a continent appeared. It was the primitive continent formed by the primitive style. In the past decade, Lu Ming would use the primitive ring as a reference to comprehend the primitive style whenever he was free. The results were very good. Now that he had used the primitive style, the mountains and rivers on it were much clearer than before. Its power was also much stronger. Lu Ming condensed the primitive continent to about 100 meters. This way, its power was the most concentrated. The primitive continent pressed down on the burly man from the heavenly human tribe with a violent force. Its power was shocking. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe waved his golden warhammer and smashed it on the primitive continent. The violent force even made it difficult for the other heavenly human tribe expert, who was at the second level of the Divine Master Realm, to stabilize himself. He kept retreating as he resisted with all his might. In the end, a crack appeared on the primitive continent. The crack kept expanding until it finally exploded. However, the middle-aged man from the heavenly human tribe was also blocked. The golden warhammer was bounced back for the first time. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe turned pale and looked shocked. This time, Lu Ming actually blocked his attack completely. This was unbelievable. Lu Ming was only at the first level of the Divine Master Realm. This Lu Ming, Yi Chu, Gongcong, and the others were also shocked. Then, they were filled with intense killing intent. They finally understood why Lu Ming was listed as a must-kill target by the upper echelons of the Heavenly Palace. This boy was too terrifying. The two of you attack together. I'll support you from afar. Yi Chu, Gongcong, transmitted his voice to the other two divine masters. He also wanted to attack, but he had to block the entrance in case Lu Ming escaped. However, before Yi Chu, Gongcong, and the others could attack, Lu Ming had already attacked. Lu Ming continued to use the primitive style. A continent pressed down on the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. He held the war god's spear in his hand and became one with the spear. He stabbed at the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. Heavenly power condense, heavenly weapon. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared. His body was covered by the heavenly power. 9 golden warhammers were formed around him. Together with the one he had before, there were a total of 10 golden warhammers. One of them was a main divine weapon. The others were all heavenly power attack techniques. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 5 golden warhammers flew into the sky and blasted toward the primitive continent. In the end, the 5 warhammers and the primitive continent exploded and disappeared into energy. The other 5 warhammers flew toward the spear light that was stabbing toward them. Boom! The first warhammer collided with the spear light. However, the moment they collided, the warhammer was pierced through. Then, the spear light pierced through the second warhammer. The same thing happened to the second warhammer. It did not resist for even a moment and was also pierced through. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe was shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This was because he discovered that the attacking power of Lu Ming's move was much, much stronger than before. No, this is the power of the origin. In the next moment, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe roared in his heart. Chapter 45-52. That's right. Lu Ming had already used the power of the origin source in this move. The power of the origin source surged into the God of War spear, allowing the spear to recover some of its power. Together with Lu Ming's own power, the power of the attack was shocking. The warhammers formed by the heavenly human race man were completely useless against Lu Ming's attack. In the blink of an eye, all 4 warhammers were destroyed by the spear light. The heavenly human race man roared and swung the last warhammer, which was the main weapon, in an attempt to block Lu Ming's attack. Clang! The God of War spear pierced the warhammer, causing a loud explosion. The terrifying force was like waves that swept out in all directions, causing the entire underground space to shake violently. Luckily, the surroundings were filled with black heavenly origin gold ores that were extremely tough. The shockwaves from their battle only left scratches on the black heavenly origin gold ores but did not destroy the place. If it were ordinary stones or ores, this place would have been turned into ashes by the shockwaves. After a loud explosion, the sound of porcelain shattering could be heard. It was none other than the golden warhammer in the heavenly human race man's hand. At this moment, cracks appeared on the warhammer of the heavenly human race man, and the number of cracks increased rapidly. Finally, with a loud bang, the entire golden warhammer exploded. A top-notch master-grade divine weapon was shattered just like that. The heavenly human race man was almost scared to death. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. The god of war spear did not stop there. It continued to pierce towards the heavenly human race man's forehead. Just as the god of war spear was about to pierce the heavenly human race man's forehead, his forehead suddenly shone brightly. A jade talisman appeared, emitting endless runes. The god of war spear was blocked by the runes. The attack of the god of war spear was stopped. The heavenly human race man took the opportunity to retreat frantically, wanting to escape. However, the jade talisman was only able to block the god of war spear for a few seconds before it was pierced through. A terrifying spear light continued to pierce towards the heavenly human race man. But with this delay, the heavenly human race man moved his body and avoided his vitals. Pucci. Although the spear ray had pierced through the large heavenly human clan's large man, it did not pierce through his forehead. Instead, it pierced through his chest. The heavenly human tribe man's chest instantly exploded. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and his bones were reduced to dust. His body flew out and crashed into the wall of black heaven source gold. He coughed up mouthfuls of blood. However, the large man from the heavenly human clan did not die. He was only seriously injured. These divine masters from the celestial race are really not easy to kill. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Just now, he had suddenly used his source energy and unleashed his strongest move. If his opponent was caught off guard, it would be very easy for him to kill him. However, in the end, he was still alive. The main reason for that was because he possessed too many life-saving methods. The jade talisman that appeared between his eyebrows was a treasure with extremely strong defensive power. If it wasn't for the fact that the war god spear's grade was extremely high, and that a trace of the war god spear's power had been stimulated by the origin energy, he wouldn't have been able to break through the other party's defense. However, even though the burly man from the heavenly human tribe didn't die, he was severely injured. It was difficult for him to continue fighting. This, Yechu Gongcang and the other two were extremely shocked. They never thought that Lu Ming would suddenly unleash his full strength and severely injure the burly man from the heavenly human tribe with a single move. Weren't they evenly matched just a moment ago? Why did he suddenly become so strong? Had he been hiding his strength all this time and suddenly unleashed his full strength to kill them all? At the thought of this, their bodies turned cold and they broke out in cold sweat. Besides, Lu Ming had suddenly unleashed his full strength and used his strongest move to break through the multiple defenses of the heavenly human tribe. Everything had happened in an instant. They couldn't even save him in time. Now, they instinctively wanted to run away. Don't be afraid. He used his source energy just now. He has the origin seed. I think his source energy can only be used once. The burly man from the heavenly human tribe yelled. He was almost scared to death. If Yechu Gongcang and the others retreated, he would really die. Yechu Gongcang and the others came to a realization. They knew that Lu Ming had condensed an origin seed when he was in the Taishang Immortal City. However, that was only an origin seed. It was impossible for him to have an endless supply of source energy. Even an origin realm expert couldn't have an endless supply of source energy. According to their experience, Lu Ming should only be able to use his source energy to unleash a single attack. He has already used up his source energy. Attack and kill him. Yechu Gongcang roared furiously. The power of heavenly punishment erupted and turned into a battle sword that slashed at Lu Ming. The other two Divine Lord realm experts also attacked. A third-layer Divine Lord and a second-layer Divine Lord launched their strongest attacks at Lu Ming. The three attacks attacked Lu Ming's 3 vital points at an astonishing speed. These guys have really fast reactions. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Originally, he could have taken the opportunity to attack and kill the burly man from the heavenly human tribe if they had hesitated. But now, he had lost the opportunity to attack. After all, Yechu Gongcang's strength was extremely terrifying. He was even slightly stronger than the burly man from the heavenly human tribe. In addition, there were 2 other Divine Lord realm experts attacking together. Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless. He had to focus on dealing with them. The slightest carelessness would cause him to be severely injured. After all, he couldn't use his source energy anymore. The war god's spear vibrated and stabbed out several times in an instant. Several rays of spear light shot out. Yechu Gongsang blocked them, but he also took several steps back. Kill. Heavenly punishment descend. Kill. Buddha's heavenly slaughter. Kill. Heavenly tiger's roar. Yechu Gongsang and the other two used their killing moves and attacked Lu Ming together. Their attacking speed was too fast, and their coordination was flawless. Lu Ming did not have the time to perform the prehistoric style at such a fast speed. After all, the primitive style required hand seals. Although it was extremely fast, it still required some time. Of course, this was because Lu Ming had just comprehended it not long ago and wasn't familiar with it yet. In the future, when Lu Ming cultivated it to the point where he didn't need to form hand seals and could use it with a thought, its power would be truly shocking. Now, he could only wield the war god's spear to block the attacks. Lu Ming used the heaven-breaking style. His entire body seemed to have turned into a ray of spear light. Together with the war god's spear, its power was extremely shocking. The long spear vibrated and several rays of spear light shot out, blocking the attacks of Yechu Gongsang and the others. Among the three, Yechu Gongsang's attacks gave Lu Ming a lot of pressure. As for the other two, Lu Ming could easily block them. However, although Lu Ming could block them easily, he didn't dare to be careless. Lu Ming's attack power was extremely strong, not much weaker than Yechu Gongsang's. However, his defense power was not as strong as his attack power. Chapter 45-53. When Lu Ming unleashed his full power, his offensive power was astonishing. He could even defeat or kill an ordinary fourth-layer Divine Lord, but his defensive power was far from such a level. Lu Ming controlled forbidden power and many ancient secret techniques. His defensive power was naturally much stronger than other cultivators of the same level. Very few people of the same level could break through his defenses. Even if it was a second-level Divine Master, Lu Ming would not take it to heart. However, it was different for a third-level Divine Master. A third-level Divine Master would definitely be able to break through Lu Ming's defense and cause him serious injuries. That third-layer Divine Lord from the celestial race was stronger than an ordinary third-layer Divine Lord. He was a great threat to Lu Ming. In a one-on-one fight, he would have defeated his opponent before he could even attack him. However, it was different now. The opponent had Yechu Gongsang as the main attacker. Just Yechu Gongsang alone was enough to put Lu Ming at a disadvantage. That third-layer Divine Lord from the celestial race was a great threat. Lu Ming had to be on guard at all times. As a result, Lu Ming's situation became even more passive. Yechu Gongsang and the others naturally saw this, so Yechu Gongsang's attacks became even more violent. Dazzling sword light poured down on Lu Ming like a storm, enveloping Lu Ming. Lu Ming could only defend with all his strength. The void was covered by countless spear lights and sword lights. The two constantly clashed, and in an instant, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Now's the time. Suddenly, the other two celestial race experts attacked fiercely. Their timing was too accurate. It was when Lu Ming was fighting Yechu Gongsang with all his strength and couldn't afford to be distracted. Although Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, he was still hit by the third-layer Divine Lord. The attack broke through his multiple defenses and bombarded Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled as he was sent flying to the side. He smashed into the stone wall of the black heavenly source gold mine, causing the ground to shake. A deep wound appeared on his body, and he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. Even with Lu Ming's constitution, he had still been injured by a powerful third-layer Divine Lord, and his injuries were not light. That's it. Keep attacking like this. Kill. Yechu Gongsang roared and continued to attack Lu Ming with the other two. Desolate style. Lu Ming roared, finally finding an opportunity. He used the Great Desolate style, and a continent formed, suppressing Yechu and the others. Petty tricks. Break for me. Yechu Gongsang shouted coldly. His sword light burst out and soared into the sky, slashing at the Your Desolation continent. Boom. Yechu Gongsang's battle prowess was extremely powerful. When the sword light containing divine retribution power slashed onto the continent, It tore open a massive hole, causing the continent to continuously explode and be on the verge of collapse. But this was enough for Lu Ming. Heaven breaker! Lu Ming's eyes exuded cold, killing intent as he became one with his spear. It was as if he had become one with the war god's spear. Finally, he transformed into a spear light that stabbed at the third-layer divine lord of the celestial race. Yes, Lu Ming had used the desolate style to pin down Yechu Gongcang. His goal was to kill that third-layer divine lord of the celestial race. As long as he could get rid of this person, the situation would be in Lu Ming's favor. This second-layer divine lord of the celestial race was not much of a threat to Lu Ming. Yechu Gongcang alone was easy to deal with. Even if he couldn't defeat him, Lu Ming could still easily retreat. As long as the origin energy of the origin seed recovered, he would be able to come back. You dare! Yechu Gongcang roared as he thrust out a palm with his left hand. Several dozen bolts of lightning hurtled toward Lu Ming. However, it was too late. Moreover, the attack was done hastily and the attack was not powerful. 2 bolts of lightning struck the spear gleam that Lu Ming had transformed into. It only caused the spear gleam to tremble a little and did not stop Lu Ming. Lu Ming's attacks did not stop. In the blink of an eye, he had closed in on the third-layer divine lord of the celestial race. This person roared as he circulated supreme heavenly energy and slashed out with his saber at the spear light. But in a head-on clash, he was no match for Lu Ming. He was far from being a match. With a bang, this person's saber light and the main divine weapon saber in his hand exploded. Lu Ming's spear light pierced through this person's body like a hot knife through butter. Ah! This third-layer divine lord of the celestial race screamed, his voice filled with unwillingness and fear. Then his body exploded, his soul extinguished. Just now, his body and soul had been completely destroyed by Lu Ming. You're courting death! Yechu Gongcang roared. His entire body was covered in lightning as he prepared to launch a thunderous attack. However, he immediately stopped, because the ground had suddenly begun to shake. Rumble! Intense explosions could be heard continuously. Lu Ming, Yechu Gongcang, and the others paled. This was because the explosions were coming from one direction. It was as if some massive object had broken through the black heaven source gold ore and was charging toward them. Judging from the sound, it was moving at an astonishing speed. Over there! Lu Ming's wooden pipe swept toward a wall. The tremors were coming from there. The next moment, bang! The wall formed by the black heaven source gold ore exploded. Then, a scarlet strip of flesh swept toward Lu Ming. Barbs grew from the scarlet strip of flesh, and a nauseating stench instantly filled the room. Fast, too fast. It instantly closed in on Lu Ming with frightening power. Lu Ming had a feeling that if this strip of flesh swept him up, he would not be able to escape death. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to escape. But Lu Ming reacted quickly. As soon as the strip of flesh flew out, he activated the Greater Teleportation Art. The Greater Teleportation Art had a fatal flaw. When there were obstacles in the way, it could not directly pass through them. Therefore, it was impossible for Lu Ming to teleport out of the mine. However, it was possible to teleport within the mine. When the strip of flesh passed through Lu Ming's body, it only passed through Lu Ming's afterimage. Lu Ming's body had already appeared on another wall 1,000 meters away. But the scarlet strip of flesh did not stop there. It continued to wrap around him. In front of him was the burly man from the heavenly human tribe who had been injured by Lu Ming. Although he had tried his best to heal himself, he did not have much time to recover from his injuries. He could not dodge the attack of the scarlet strip of flesh at all. In an instant, the burly man from the heavenly human tribe was wrapped up by the strip of flesh. The barbs on the strip of flesh pierced deeply into his body. Ah, save me! The burly man from the heavenly human tribe struggled frantically, but it was useless. The strip of flesh did not move at all.